it's nice to be here. Thank you very much. My name is Audra McIver, and I am co-founder and strategic commander for Plan of Attack, which is a PR agency specializing in video game launches and promotions in Europe and North America. So, without further ado, since we're a little behind schedule, let's just skip ahead. Let's start out talking about some stats about the video games industry. There are more than 2 billion players worldwide, according to the analyst firm Newzoo. The average player age is 35, which I don't know how long a lot of you guys have been in the industry, but this is a much higher age range than it was when I started out in the games industry. 27% of gamers are under 18, and 26% are over 50, or 50 or over. 59% of gamers are male, and 41% are female, also very different from when I started out 14 years ago. And the global video game revenue reached $99.6 billion in 2016 and is predicted to reach $118 billion by 2019. This is far beyond the film industry, pretty much the biggest in the entertainment industries. So the whole idea of like gamers being the lonely people in their mom's basements playing games and stuff, that's completely over. 53% of the most frequent players say games help them connect with friends, and 42% say games help them connect with family. 68% of parents say that video games are a positive part of their children's lives. By the way, I do apologize that the presentation is a bit text heavy, which I thought was appropriate for a non-native English-speaking audience. If any of you would like to have this presentation, please give me your business card, and I'm happy to send it to you. It's no problem. All right, and back. 75% of the most frequent players believe that games provide mental stimulation and/or education, which I agree with. People are playing on. 37% are playing on mobile. 21.3% year over year, surpassing PC games. So most people are playing on mobile. However, that is a pretty saturated market. Actually, the reason I'm having all these statistics is so you can see how saturated the market is across the board. PlayStation 4, it comes next. Xbox One and Wii U. However, I will update this with Switch sales because I think that's definitely a better platform than Wii U. No offense. Okay, so VR is an emerging trend. So here's the problem with VR. VR is the technology is finally getting there. However, there's not enough market penetration of the headsets. So right now, if you launch a game on VR, you can get visibility for it. It's not as saturated of a marketplace, but you just need to wait for the market penetration for the headsets to up a little bit. And then I think that the sales for VR are going to take off considerably more. 40% of gamers say that they will likely purchase a VR unit within the next year. So hopefully, because that's really when this will take off. Esports is freaking massive. The global audience for esports last year surged to 36.6% and reaches now 323 million people. And I do expect this to go up considerably. It's expected to reach 589 million by 2020. That may even be an underestimate. This is really a trend that's taking off. Okay, so here's some interesting stats about the App Store. So last year, you can see the extremely huge numbers of game submissions to the App Store each month. This was roughly a year ago. Actually, I have an updated statistic on this for, hold on just a moment. Okay, so pay attention to these numbers. Now look at 2017. Significantly less. I think people have kind of figured out that they can't just reskin a game and make a bunch of money. So you've seen the penetration or the saturation go down here. And also, I have an updated statistic. So in July, actually, at the end of July, there were 3,016 games submitted to the App Store. And in August, so far, well, pretty much in August, 2,698. So this continues to go down. The saturation of this market is getting better, but you still need to have a great game. And this just shows kind of general app growth since 2008. You can just see how much it's taken off. But now I think that for the first time in 2017, we're going to see that level off and go down a little bit. Steam, also becoming really saturated. 2013 had 600 games launch on Steam. 2017, so far, 2,660. This is a very saturated market as well. So basically, basically it's just saturated all around. So, but you're not completely screwed. There are ways to get visibility for your game even in this marketplace, and that's what I'm here to tell you how to do. So today I'm going to cover all of these topics. I'm going to speed through that. Okay, so product positioning. Product positioning is basically figuring out where your game fits into this extremely saturated market and figuring out how you're going to talk about your game so that people are actually interested in it instead of just thinking that it's another bunch of games or another bunch of the games that are already available. In order to figure out your product positioning, you need to figure out what's unique about your game. So what you need to do is talk to your team, identify the core features, or your friends, if you're a one-man development team or something like that. Talk to your friends, bounce ideas off of people and get feedback. Identify the core features of your product, what you think are the best features of your game, and then compare it to the core features of what you see as your competitors. You really need to do research on your competitors. Do not develop in a vacuum. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Anyway, you need to figure out what is unique about your game because those are going to be your selling points and those are going to help you rise above the noise of the industry. So again, build a top 5 feature list. What makes your game special? Compare and contrast those features with your competitors. Figure out who your competitors are and compare and contrast the features. And then figure out how to sum up your game and what is unique about it in one sentence. Build a clear relationship between your development and your marketing communications team. This is the #1 mistake that I see a lot of game developers make. They don't think about how they're going to sell their product. They think about making a great product, which is a really good place to start, but you need to kind of pull it all together and figure out how you're going to promote it at the end, because as you saw before, such a saturated marketplace. If you don't, you're just going to get lost. And then understand your positioning and just make sure everything is in sync. Smaller development teams are more agile, so they can kind of work together to make sure that everything is being done. But you need to be organized and you need to have like clear communication between everyone. Have a 30-second elevator pitch, because a lot of times that's the maximum amount of attention span you're going to get from people. So, and practice that. Practice it with your team. Practice it in front of the mirror. Whatever it is you need to do, just make sure that you have an idea of how you're going to deliver this like elevator pitch, because it's very important if you are talking to media or investors or anything like that. You need to kind of have like a short, tight pitch. Just sum up your game in a sentence and compare that with the competition, and then ask yourself if your pitch is unique, interesting, and clear. All right, community is very important, especially when we saw the statistics about how big esports is becoming. So, in order to build your community, you first need to be regularly communicative with your community. And what I mean by that is if players think that, or if they know that you're going to be posting regular content and posting regular updates, they trust you and they will continue to come back to your forum or your site and see what you have going on. So this is the first thing that you need to do. They need to trust that you are going to post regularly. It's very important. Utilize social media across the board, everything. Use Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of it. And then in order to, again, make sure that you stay organized, I would say put together a spreadsheet, like a calendar, date what you're going to post on that day, and make sure that someone is assigned to do that. Small studios oftentimes don't have the funds to hire a community manager outright. And you don't need to. You just need to make sure that someone is posting this content on this day so that your community will trust you and keep coming back. It's very, very important. And then also you need to make sure that someone is always monitoring forums, because people can be, pardon my language, assholes. So you need to make sure that you weed those out and make sure that you nip anything like that in the bud. Make sure that you don't allow any inappropriate content to stay on your forum for very long, because that also will be a negative impact. Okay. And then your community, these people are going to be your biggest fans, your biggest evangelists. And once you build a community, if it's strong enough, they will actually jump in and help you if there's if there's inappropriate content, if there are trolls, anything like that. And again, you just need to make sure consistency is the key. They need to trust you and they need to feel involved. Involve their ideas, listen to them, respond to them, even if it's something that you can't actually do anything about. Say, good idea, but we can't do it because of this. Be very transparent with your community. Be honest with them, and they will trust you, and they will be your biggest supporters. And they appreciate being heard. Gamers love to talk, and they love to be heard. Okay, so trolls. Yes, I've been trolled before. It was really, really horrible. But unfortunately, this is just part of our digital life. This is just the fact. This is the way that the world is today. People, this veil of anonymity really brings out the worst in a lot of people. It's unfortunate, but can't beat it. Well, not if you can't beat them, join them. Don't join them, but just learn how to deal with them and don't be upset. Don't try to fight back against them, because that just fans the flames. The best way to deal with it is to be diplomatic and factual. And it hurts. It really hurts. You have to bite your tongue because you want to say, no, that's not true. I didn't say that, or I didn't mean that, or whatever. But honestly, that is not the way to go about it. Just take the high road and be nice, be diplomatic, and just say, I'm sorry that you feel this way, blah, blah, blah. It's the only way to fight back, unfortunately. But it definitely takes the wind out of their sails, which is misspelled. Sorry about that. This is where your community can jump in and help you as well, because they will jump in and say, no, this isn't true, or whatever. Let them fight for you, honestly. Just stay diplomatic, stay on the high road, and let them fight for you. Okay, video content now is one of the most important things in discoverability. Of course, you need to have screenshots. GIFs are also something that we have found to be very effective too, because now with distribution software, you can actually include GIFs in your press releases in the inline text. So you can have a logo and you can have a screenshot or two, and you can also include a GIF. So it gives a little bit of action, which is important because video is so important now. When I started doing video game PR, we used to pitch developer diaries all the time, which are it's like an article. those don't sell that well anymore because people just don't want to sit there and read through 2 pages of text about how you designed this character and why. Make a video, a video developer diary. Make sure that you have a good, solid gameplay trailer. If you have money to do a CGI trailer, that's great, but honestly, gameplay trailers we've found to be more effective because they show what the game is actually going to look like, and that's more important when it comes to selling the game at the end of the day. You need original, compelling content. You need this video to be interesting. And certain games, I understand, don't really lend themselves that well to video, but honestly, make a video, figure it out. Even if it's a game that doesn't lend itself well to video, figure out a way to make a video because people don't want to read anymore. The attention span of gamers and media even is much shorter. The media is well, I'll talk about that in a minute. Create original, compelling content for your videos. Make sure that it's shareable. Make sure that it's something that is interesting enough so that one friend, if it's a game that they want to play, they share it with their other friends and say, look at this game, let's get it when it comes out and play together. Have a call to action. Pre-order is an example, but basically whenever you have a news item, a press release that you send out, or a video or anything like that, you want to have a reason for it. Look at how cool this is. You want to buy this game. Connect your social channels, share it on everything you can, and share it with your community as well. Sometimes it's even good to share this stuff with your community before you announce it wide to press and other gamers because it makes them feel special. The video should be very, very good quality. Otherwise, it will have a negative impact on your game. Make sure that the quality is good. Make sure if you have a voiceover that it doesn't sound hokey or funny, and make sure that it's on point and it gives the message, sends the message that you want it to send. Okay, so working with influencers. This is a big, big deal now. Obviously, you guys know that YouTube and Twitch have become the top destinations for gamers to learn and share their video games, or what they like to play. It also is one of the #1 things that move the needle in terms of sales we've seen. Traditional media cannot be ignored. However, you've just got to cast a little bit of a wider net now and make sure that you're getting the influencers. A lot of consumers rely on video content that is informative, shareable, and communicates the important, most relevant information they are looking for. So in working with, well, these are just some statistics about Twitch and some statistics about YouTube. Basically, what you need to do is do research again. Figure out who these influencers are that cover games maybe similar to yours, and figure out which ones you want to go after, and then write to them and try to form a relationship with them. But I mean, if you just do your homework, because if it's a really big streamer that only covers Minecraft, maybe that's not who you want to reach out to for your first-person shooter game. Just make sure that you know what they're writing about or what they're interested in, and that goes a long way. They will appreciate that, and it's important if you want to be heard by them as well. Also, quality content. I mean, this is pretty much a no-brainer. You have to have a good game, and it has to be fun. Yeah, let's just move on. All right. So streamers do necessitate a little bit of a different approach. They are not traditional media, and they're not really bound by the same journalistic integrity that traditional media are. So you want to make sure, let's see. Well, you want to make sure that you deal with them. I'm going to address this in some of the next slides, but brand partnerships are available for streamers, but you definitely need a budget, and you need to kind of be open with your community about what you're doing with this whole thing. The really big streamers, for a brand partnership, it's actually managed through a media company normally, not through them directly. But anyway, if you have questions about that, please ask me, because I've negotiated these deals before. Okay, all right. I think some of these slides are mixed up. I apologize for that. All right, so don't develop in a vacuum. This is basically going back to your positioning. Make sure that you get, don't develop a game and not pay attention to what other people are doing. Pay attention to your competition, know who your competition are, and then make sure that you talk to them, talk to your team, and not talk to your competition, but talk to your team and make sure that your game is different enough from your competition. I know this seems like a very common sense thing, but I see developers all the time just kind of other games launching at the same time, weirdly enough, because the industry goes in trends like that. And they just don't realize that other people have thought of the exact same unique concept that they have. So make sure that you get critical feedback and make sure that you listen to that critical feedback. It's not easy to hear negative things about something that you think of as like your child, but it's really, really important. Okay, so early access is a great way to gather constructive feedback. It's a great way to kind of recoup some revenue while you're still developing the game. And it's a good way to kind of soft launch a game, essentially. However, it's been very used and abused of late in the last couple of years. I think last year was much worse than this year. I feel like people are, the developers are starting to realize that you have to have a really robust product on early access in order to actually succeed. Otherwise, you're just launching a piece of crap on the store, and and once you have it out there, if it's not good enough, people are never going to come back. So it is not an excuse to upload your game to the public because you ran out of budget. It's not. I mean, I understand a lot of people think, well, what the hell? I'm just going to do it, and that's fine. That's the way to go. But if you ever want this game if you ever want this IP to become something more, don't do that, because you sully the IP and then you cannot go back. You don't get another chance. It's not a way to easy revenue, and it's not great for press coverage. The larger press sites won't cover early access games anyway, like Eurogamer and stuff. They just won't cover a game that's not finished and final. But especially if it's buggy and stuff, like you leave a bad impression in people's minds, and that's something that you can't really recover from. Don't run out of time, prepare for delay and fix. Again, seems common sense. In my entire career, I think I mean, there are very few games that I've launched that have come out exactly when they're supposed to. They're almost always delayed. So expect for a delay, and hope for the best, plan for the worst. Probably your game is going to be delayed because I don't know why, but crazy game-breaking bugs always come up at the last minute. I don't know why this is. It's like a Murphy's Law thing or something. You only have one opportunity to make a first impression. This is kind of the same with early access. Just don't screw it up. Try to make sure that your game is as good and stable and wonderful as possible. If you are able to delay launch, and you need to, do it. It's far better to delay the release of your game and fix it and make sure that it's a really good product than to launch on time. And a way to communicate this to press and your community and everything is to keep your launch date vague. Say it's coming in spring, or it's coming this month, or something like that. Just keep it vague until you have like the final version of your game, and then you can announce the launch date. Don't pigeonhole yourself into launching on a certain day when you're not sure that you'll be able to make it. So make sure your game is final if you're going to do that. There are no second chances for a first impression. Like a golden rule. And then again, this is very important. Always be open and honest with your community, your customers, about why you might have delayed your game launch. So if you've already announced that your game is going to launch on September 15th, and then 5 days before you have a game-breaking bug or something like that, just be honest about it. Gamers really understand. They understand that these things happen. They appreciate the honesty, and it's always the best policy. So just make sure that you are communicative about what it is that they that they can expect and why it's delayed if it is. I'm sure you guys can all think of instances when big publishers have not followed this, and that's been fun for them and for their PR teams. Okay, so this is very important. Attend events. Attending events is important because you can network, meet other gamers, other people in the industry. It's very important. Showcase your product to press and consumers. Attend talks. Check out your competitors' products. Attend parties and enjoy yourself, which is where a lot of the networking comes in. You never know where all of these wonderful people are going to come back up, probably at the next conference, and they start to become like family reunions. It's actually pretty fun. So also be strategic in the shows that you're going to benefit from. Not every trade show is going to benefit your game. Look at the timing of your development cycle and when it's going to be ready to show to press and when that is going to be relevant. And then in order to get booths and things like that, there are a number of different ways to afford that, such as talking to, if your country has, like some kind of a games association or something like that. I know like in the UK they have Yuki and their stuff like that. Check those options out. You can also talk to various people in the industry who set up kind of group booths at like Gamescom and stuff like that, and then you can kind of have like a meeting room within a larger group. It's more affordable. And if you want more information about that, please talk to me, because I work with a lot of those people as well. All right, press kit. Press kits are very important. I'm not going to stay on this very much, but you need 10 to 20 good screenshots. You need character art, fact sheet, a trailer, raw gameplay footage like B-roll, a game logo, and a studio logo. An example of a boring screenshot. There's not any action. You can't see any action going on here. You can't tell exactly what's happening. This has action. You see the light from the gunfire. There's movement in every part of the screen. So just make sure that there's no wasted space, and it kind of tells what you want it to tell about your game, instead of just kind of being like, Also get additional help early if you need it. PR agencies are available if you don't have a budget for an internal PR person. To be honest, if you have budget for either a community manager or a PR agency, I would hire a community manager. I know that I run a PR agency, so it's probably not the smartest thing to say, but to be honest, I think that it's more valuable. But a lot of PR agencies do work on project basis, so you don't have to hire them on a retainer. But make sure that you get those people in early, because once your game is launched, it's too late. A week before launch, that's hard, but doable, but also still kind of too late. All right, mock reviews. If you have the budget for it, this is a really great way to get feedback on your game, to get real critical feedback. So mock reviewers are basically people who used to be journalists, video game journalists, and are now mock reviewers. And you pay them a fee, they play your game, they write a full review as they would if they were a journalist, and you are the only one who sees that review, that feedback. It helps you figure out what issues your game might have and what critical issues it might be judged for in the future. So this is actually really important too. You can do a mock review. I always advise doing a mock review when you're kind of in like alpha phase, because then you might be able to pinpoint some major like issues with your gameplay that are not going to go over well with the audience. So this is really important. Again, if you're interested in doing something like this, get in touch with me. We work with a number of mock reviewers. We don't take a fee for that. We just put you in touch with them. But it's a really, really good idea, and it really helps you figure out what direction your game needs to go in. And it also, if you have investors, you can get a mock review before the game comes out. When it's like final, you can get another one, and then you kind of know what the score is going to be, and what the Metacritic score is going to be. So that's important. Basically, this just goes over what that is. All right, basic anatomy of a game launch is announcement, preview, launch date, announcement, review campaign, and the now available announcement. So, and the review campaign kind of goes all down here because it takes oftentimes weeks to get the press to actually be able to review your games. They get about 80 press releases a day, a lot of the bigger sites. So basically, you want to do your announcement, you want to announce your IP, and then when you have preview, you want the preview version to not be the final version. If your game is kind of already finished and stuff, just skip the preview campaign. The launch date announcement, as we discussed before, this should be pretty much when the game is final. Like when you have review code, then send out the launch date announcement roughly 2 weeks before actual launch, and you can put a call to action in the press release or news announcement or whatever saying, review code's available, please contact such and such to get a review code. That should be when your game is final. That's when you should announce your launch date. And then you start seeding reviews, and you ask them all to embargo that until the launch date. You don't want those reviews going live until the game launches, because it can take the wind out of your sails as well. And review campaign, that follow-up needs to go on for weeks. And then the now available announcement is obviously on the day of launch. So, and then it's just follow-up. It's just getting the reviews to post and things like that. Some of them will post on the day of launch, but not all of them will at all. So that's pretty much my presentation. I'm sorry I sped through it a little bit, but I wasn't sure about the timing with the technical issues. But honestly, I ran out of business cards last week at Gamescom, but if you give me your business card, I will either send you my presentation or I'll send you an email or something like that. And if you have any questions for me whatsoever, obviously you can ask them now, but you can also ask them later.